ube PM Ghana, one of the professions are omo ebre epa for teachers. Isan say if free bra ban buy no o market to ahun sensem no akoye bibie wo ho ene demonstrations ahodo o ma ya nso no enya ade aban no che ka no kura na say ka ni coat kura na akoka ne shirt na anu ada wo videos na trending ni ade abatan e wo mu twa gyaadwo esu a che say aban entimi ntu omuka areho na nkomotwetwen bi akoso afa sa ansem a ekoso no ho the entire aban person obetua teachers ika any His Excellency John Dramani Mahama presidents are set back in 2012 obey Ghana mampanyi to 2016 same incident etimi esiye when to me entua teachers car teachers here demonstrations ahodo bebre and editia na mamuo and then so the same thing esanso ekoso. What is the reason behind this issue ekoso no ebusuan ngibre incotie discussions yenso adwenche fa nsem o mo be gu apon so no yemfa into comment section.
Okay, let me say normally they tell atina o ka say ban say no be ye juma for so long you can say ye tia the car. Normally no it comes from the processor ye the recruitment so say in the public sector no recruitment no and yes straightforward. I'll go through several processes. In this process, no validation. And no, I was saying, I think as a process, no, but me to say, now it could be said because government are buying 70. Na be that delay because Obianti said in this digital age, it takes so long to be able to validate people, and it's not possible. Say, better say. Yes, while in the time now you use digitalization now. You need digital system now. You use manual for at least. It may ban them kakra. I don't know say the Ibanesa. Nina dina sikasemso. Because I guess sikasemso. Omo you man so be new. How to verify them? There's no crap of you or be our Ghana card. So once you are in see the person, you just put the person's Ghana card details on it, and it is the system to pick the person for you to pay the person. It shouldn't be idea I was say go through long process. Make I say the main reason here is because who validate you be it's simple to validate the person. And that's we check.
Yeah.
And that's we check because here you say omo be fa omo no omo go through process. Ye ji omo dito ye ni na ma ye fa omo ye ni be omo tira de wo. It wey dey happen to education service there. District be any municipality be so ye was district office of education here wo. In you can easily gather that data for their validation on month basis to know who is at post and who is not at post. In your system, who I bet to me this process is smooth. But some American say and I understand this will be the criteria and say process no more was say taking years and taking months and some or movie that process. Now you say step by step no process when the war santia take several months and sana yet to say see there you are better to oka
I see but dog ya shadow o say abaye ba be fa teacher for dog patwada when me say there's a feedback be say radio and I say television be I'm told that okay my feedback be kakra say obetimi adwom ne kakra ma ya I hope it is coming from your end. Yeah.
Yes.
So now o can be fa validation wa sem na ye kai. Say abai e ba be fa nipa so fa military say immigration police any teacher for nurses near there. Value and or they mad the society. So definitely you go for financial clearance first. There the bama abai financial clearance. No when your financial clearance ni we are akrade kwakwa chirade no chirade we are na be ka kire me say 2-3 year ayi 4-5 months no untimi mpia ne ka eno no there na man ba because I don't get it financial clearance no yetimi ekase yanya ebia 10 years in the next 10 years no ye betimi afa teacher for do say aya ho ode ne yesika sem no ye betimi atu omoka in the next 15 years they will plan ahead eye den so ne ye saade no wi a obi etimi ba se entua obi ka
When we better say, no, na me ntiasian. Oh, the way any teacher for that's a sunya the same problem. Other professional bodies also omunya the same problem. Now the ntiana ebano sani say after financial clearance, no, you have to then make the money available.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you know, it normally goes out of the budget. And because they give financial clearance, but and yet normally many budgeted for ninety. Also, of course, you just can't work baby now. Already know the compensation budget is already bloated. So now you say majority of our domestic revenue is used to almost normal mostly go to compensation. No? So you share who here be not one budget for, and then the Bama size by it. We be the financial clearance thing. But the Katan Kasakasana, I say, after available, say, to an answer. I got to say, who you my company? We are employed. I can't say a bit your card of the man. Some of your money is more employed. Now, so soon no be yes can it your can. And no, yes, seminal. Says a canning buyer, and a Bama check. It will say, even some private companies scramble or what on salary say delay. Not because they don't want to pay them, but because the means or the financial clearance is not there for them to pay them. So this is what result in sad delays here. Despite financial clearance now, yeah, can't have some. And then do they are a bonus.
I see. All right. I told that we have Nana Jemai on the line. Nana Jemai is a founder, Skills Bridge Ghana Foundation, has also joined us. Let me introduce Nana Jemai. I'll come back to Doc. So Nana, watch that at their pay. And no say a bana a yahometi ubia kwacha there 14 months intimi entry aneka. Where now buy we asem the yeka. A baby or baby as uncle for no mutual mugu montenswa. Over here, you try any idea. And the other master, I asked that the same question, but you may have some experience since I watch out dear pen. Catch a say, I buy a quadri financial clearance. Say, the passé the met me a fania former year, then the panachad 14 months into an a dear the bet me a master dinaba.
One platform so. Then the dog, I can't do one and I come about the canning. We say a nexus between the financial discipline and education so because of the Ministry of Finance. They be a Ghana said you can in Article 179 said the president and a budget even president on papers one in the constitution on budget only name about reality young kind of a finance ministry and as a finance minister and I share a bank professor more say in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, you get more for the passing. Now, in the instead of dog kind of crew, only say, Samuel mobilization, Munya will move in and I not a omudi issue opportunity, no more day. Any bread yet, because I need to say, a more multis canon finance for one and the name a how on them. And the 7 no man will feel now, he says, or Mosca. Now, I said, all also said a brand of money, money or copy was here now or the Yen enemy said last year, Finance Minister Parker said a drew baby no. Now, I said, yes, I deposia, editia, ye Ghana in my work. I mean, so carry points or kind. More than 42% of your taxes, a general Ghana, meaning now to rat weight below me. And the Abayan Casan on a post when it comes to animal. But Nuko only said, I am NPP, you know, politicians and as I bind with the only issue, the populist approach. Now, or mama public and we say, oh, this is what they are doing. Now, yes, you are foul because they definitely amount full fee and they have to do it because sometimes you bought a binding a cheap and amount full fee and from after normal day said I'm the graph from America say now after Sikana and Casa de Lucreni a boan and now Sikana ya body no dear but in Pimp you know scanning now say and I don't forget say about finance ministry and education one for monomudi adapting the bill on practice near the other. In so I teacher for now. Yes, one can tell where you are a money and in politics and another in governance process. One of the tools are also bit to me a day ama buying a demonstration as a strike, and that's what most of time teachers for no issue and I said or more not happy no or more issue and not on the actual buying so it may yes much of their pen. We now in Pimpino a binary casa. Yena, my fire any day said you would yes, I buy advert and will say young teacher for and I'll apply me. but aban no do ha ne sika ne yɛ and now said the dog dey kan sika ne most cases and now and we over here I don't want to say this but in most cases na nso timi si sa aban ba ko ne kwa ɛyɛ ne bi wɔ sika no kra ne on pento hɔ na waye no agya hɔ no kɔ fine financial clearance and bi a wonya na emum sika no ne hɔ even at times aban no court so no kra no timi fa nipa na oni ne sika na ɛda hɔ clearance ne de wonya ba sika no ɛda hɔ kɔ odwuma ɛsɛ but what they are saying and no na to the cover we nyina ɛda ba and some people also reading political meanings to it so ebi ana aban we enyo on the fa o nti na oyɛ sa in ben people na aban na nkasa court so no otumi fa nipa na still na onyantwa wonka nti we de menyi ni sɛ aban na seda sɛ previous government na ɛfa o nti na ama oyɛ ne oyɛ no kreni aban we bill no sɛ the finance minister di ga bɛka no pressure was so kakra nti sometimes ana ma we ne de ye be hu assistance na nti de bɛka no madam
me kai say tama NPP bar for no in 2016 owura the senior minister at that time owura Osafoma for e ka say employment bia enkofo bia ya fa omo president Mahama ebe kono ofa omo abra ne ato aba na wie no omo hwe sika sem no there's no way that they can absorb them omo ntimi emfa omo we have to allow them to go home and say see you omadi about we be the same thing abroad we are chief of staff we Julius Debrade statement babonte say about we so bra no oba be kono ani ato aba na wie no omo ye the same thing e francophobia akofa bed ya ba beto sa aba we say so ana mo hu ni say e trap so the asia na enkofo to omo gu montesi entimi tu omo ka wo ka the wage bill asemi sa yi die no a na omo ye no justify the ye hu ni ya na.
Oh, no problem. Say who you be there. You look at two things. Nipa no urban edumadi ntina ye de neba. Ana wa started that. Or ye Ghana ni so. Into be no. But here can bonifa de be redundancy. Wa kodru hono. Ebi kwa na da be na ye de ne call hono. Unse o te say ya teacher for ye fawa. Rule a ko play e wo da bre hono ye tete wo so. Ebi a ko ye no. Teacher for no ye 10 ebi kwa de no nya bi nkyere. Eno de no kure ni say new government ban no fi say Obebo who kana emfaso kesi bia ma so ni manim ya dia justify but here is the case minister ni bedi hu komo Edward report ni antara report be aba say your teacher deficit be break kwa wa nipa no bi oguso already or ye adwuma sa da bra no pa ye hia no wo so oyi na di je no de bi gidi say enye justify but be be justify ni say sa political appointment when si atesa ko fu bi agencies bi amintru modin mo fi say hono de hono na na de sa na bi mo kama I do hope or could do her own to my party, fine, yeah, yet in a poor, and not yet. The new government ban of any profits, no fees, own Timincha, or car, bread, Medina, Woodino, and for productivity be another one my or mind did don't for anyone. And the Anna Mene, a buyer about for the air, and young cunning and wine on. At the end of 4 years, on to back the Buna contact the Ghana for. Now, said you are there, or you're not in for so many and when we are there. Mitty said, no, we, Modia, maybe no, happening.
All right, thank you very much. And Nana Ajima Prempe is a founder Skills Bridge in Ghana Foundation. Nana Jinasuma Mrs. Let me engage Mr. Kwesi Nimo Jr. is a program officer Edema Edward. Say thank you very much. We are live on Kesben TV, DSTV channel 364 and Go TV channel 121. Now, let's watch this. The education minister Ababontabeka said 40,000 teachers here clear omono are buying to me and for money na but you better with just 7,000. Yeah, investigation say it's not even 7,000 by 6,000. A little over 6,500, something like that. Now, Yansha Sadwi, if the Abana does not have the financial muscle to employ all the teachers automatically, teacher DBA will use automatically. At then you creating mechanism to check the number of students be enrolling or your various teacher training colleges any idea because afibiano chunk eba be ka ho ne say aban ka choice won timi fa 40,000 but be for me 6,000 it has to reason say ebia sika sem and the form identity yentimi create something to block the number of people that you enroll more teacher training college say.
for some 2 to 3 years now. And Africa Education Watch, Shasiaka said, currently we have more teachers than we need. The system, the same. I'm buying teacher trainee allowances, not demand. Then here quite be fast why you be jaisa approach no.
Yeah.
Na get the efforts no rather. A be call into enhancing teaching welfare. Teacher welfare, accommodation, incentives for rural postings near the ade. Here my rather because as it stands no, we have more teachers than we need. Currently, there are 47,000 teachers at KG. When there are 125,000 teachers at primary. Given this statistics no, apart from the JHS level, our deficits no in terms of some of the STEM subject areas no. About these figures now, we have about 15,000 more teachers than required. I'd be meeting a pupil-teacher ratio of 30:1, which is 30 learners to 1 teacher. In that regard, we have 15,000 more teachers than required. And so, despite the surplus at the national level, no, there are about 30,000 classrooms at a chair for any go. It's a distributive inefficiency. Send the chair at a chair for them. Sinto ama uko nkronkro esukuna achechre for ewo ho ebro de omuhia nanso konkrase esukus na achechre for ewo ho enso yeah policy monitoring in February this year no, which was against the 2025 budget expenditure of 42 billion to the education sector no. Yeah, notice say in district like Zabzugu say about 20% of the primary schools near Wohonum. Teacher Bakupena Woho. Primary 1 to primary 6, which is Sheni Bakupena, and it's scattered across the country. Nina a year as a result of distributive inefficiencies. Teacher Nini the Nutu Ekrasia. With Diabros Wane Busumi. Now I call for reposting. Now they have to cook a crew. The crew Musuku now so. You will never find no surplus to labor. Idea or ye. A church for was our school, no almost. A church for was our district, no mass, and so I can't okay. Na system no, I'm a home I'm a posting a control. In northern region, for instance, about 1,000 more primary and JHS teachers than needed. About 40% of the teachers are concentrated in Tamale and Sanirugu, IA crew, where only 25% of students are enrolled. And so crossing now here church for now teachers no ashort ewo. Near can they say 6,500 and as 7,000 and I recruiting. The whole of 2025 there was no financial clearance for the recruitment or deployment of teachers. The reason we were raising concerns of that was because there were about 30,000 classrooms across the country at Cheche Fwenio and at Cheche Bakukweni Hono. The same thing, young recruited teachers in 2025 was a bit alarming. Then so 7,000 year airby. Mampeni a committee say or ben sure say targeted decentralized teacher deployment to be a Cheche for any. We welcome it. Name the can say the benefits of this 7,000 just as our 15,000 now more BI surplus to labor no. Here redistribution. Say yes, our redistribution na say job go baby or here. Na say bosumi bia be clear mama mo tuaka. Na say some confess ka for the equity 6,500 7,000 teachers. We are not doing ourselves any good.
I see.
They say the 7,000 in and Quebec has 15,000 no one. Quebec about 22,000 teachers. Gradually, so 30,000 classrooms now church for no one. Quebec me pure money na a copy bio money. Then so 15,000 the Jaho. That's a GES. And country Ministry of Education say be here say be redeploy teachers way. That's the Ministry of Education's one clearance. Free and answer and some clearance from Ministry of Finance. Na say yan find redistribution we are 7,000 be post your 2026 be ko na wie yeah analysis I bet you say we still have teacher shortages. Meanwhile, there are teachers in the system who are surplus to labor. Answer now, yeah, recommendations on the teacher deployment says 6,500 or 7,000 in BCI. The whole approach has to be decentralized. And the who's a Mampenia community so be there.
Yeah.
And so, who be here? Say education sector about 16 billion financing gap at that home. To me, I feel beer and say 900 million. And think you are chair for car. I be omo ye here. Abra ye will be a yahodoa. Ye here and so many more. And who be here say GS no optimize spending efficiency. Sikana Ediama GS say infant you are chair for cano. Yambo Modia said they check the day ma or chair near be one ye here no. And yes, be a baby one here. Oh, see, recruitment near 7,000 or 6,500 for transparency and who be here. I was said, GS, my own baby as 7,000, your moko. Send a bear civil society and the media in a boom near monitor. Name the end the year can see and they say surplus teachers no. And Momodia and I inform good baby. Now, wow, yes, surplus teacher be a band bit the year king. Now, I can't no credit, and who be here, says surplus teachers to labor and they redistribution. Surplus teacher, one person of the baby of a patrol in few name and for change your person of Tradi and family system.
Okay.
About 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, you try model B. Model now, I try and say, a baby near Emma or Chechini, being a Fabia or one Cranaso, Kumasi or Takradianas or Cape Coast, Nedin a poor class or backward shadow on Rebecca Sophia posting. Nina Sabia conditions now on so we have SHS leaders in each of the districts and the communities. Here recruit you into the system. Now I am more professional training over a period of time. Maybe more than one or more child. I do a triping. I hear Juma. And my bare 4 years period now you need to start back or memo. So there are approaches that we can vary. There are templates that we can follow. There are blueprints. And we need to say I'm buying. I didn't IBC form. Now I did trust all your day. Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah, just how do we see you? And now we can say rural areas to be or crowd be corner teacher ni ba kokra ni one day. About about the program bar. A bit me wood people to go to those rural areas to teach any idea. For example, Obioha, ya one city, the city life now one live by all the new call places be or just familiar to now or villages as some now. And ne konya the date. Said example I'll make you say Okono de regional apart from Samalugu and Tamale regional capitals no and then conform person or the other idea. What else do you think we can do to woo people to go to those places? Because as a baby about you can't say no the manifesto about you do this, but still I will come back to ABCD. What are we not getting it right? Apart from what you have said. Dear Bionia SSCA, I bet me woo people that they will even rush to go to those places.
There were rural posting acceptance incentives. Say be a teacher near be post to a rural area. I'll be atum. There were incentive I said the mama. I baby I who say political parties need campaign. You must say you buy. I idea what that. I was so mobile or more ye. Rural posting incentives. I idea was so more ye or more ye. Then so waba na acquire lip service. Na acquire chimu bebre. Teacher dabre I idea or buying yet to swear the manifesto more deba. If implemented war, ya launch the implementation you go so you policy monitoring no so you go say schools are hold are yes no for front. You will be say teacher accommodation can be home, which is the recommendation that was made and is being listened to. But that is for new infrastructure at the area. Then so teacher accommodation I buy no friend teacher that brand. ABB solve one of the problems.
I see.
Accommodation has always been one of the challenges. The aya do aya ko cheche for any honi na say baby obenya dan atenano and being school. Head teacher ni last year na ejura. I feel so say in the beginning of the year. Head teacher no what some of the head teachers in some of the schools commute over an hour on a motorbike to go to school.
Wow.
Because they be a school no one accommodation in the home. Crop basic school, head teacher or honor, or Tiejura crew, or the moto and echo. So there is that accommodation challenge. So the accommodation is one of the challenges. The other one in a say, but you're changing a posting out to a crassy. Any sabi a crassy, any dear the yonko ewo crew no. The living conditions are not the same.
Yeah.
That is why there is that need for incentive. Apart from say the living conditions, there is also the teacher professional development factor. Oh, Kroma, you have more leverage for teacher professional development than when you are in the rural areas, which is one of the challenges. So accommodation is usually the number one challenge. So with that being solved, now you making sure that deprived area and as a rural area incentive no. Enya dia ya kasi ya ba ebe na emom ya bana ye hu situation etie ne etie na wo say ibomode na etime ezan so chichi ni a o cha de wo ekurase no the living conditions kon abefa so a obehwe ne ho for a week kra no uti krom kra bi wo kra you don't even spend as much. And so some of these incentives have to be in place so the be ya odi nipa no kwa koto ho no ankoye say bia sebe o twena so. Because most of these teachers, when they are posted to the rural area, they see it as some form of a punishment. Yeah, repost and I say, yeah, punish head teacher cry, and I say, you know, if you come cry, I say, I don't know, class. Meanwhile, there are students or learners there who are equally Ghanaian children who need to be educated. It's saying, you know, we have to make the conditions in the rural areas, if not equal, at par with those in the urban centers, to make the teaching profession attractive. So maybe I be adi nipa nebe to be an obeko opportunity. But one of the challenges in Sunnis the moment nipa no do nebe to one obeka so one obeko reposting. Senka adi oko reposting na senka onya. Enka reposting will not be an option. But reposting has always been an option because nipa no kwa obenya. Sesika ne wo so otu obetua because it is an option. Senka ni hokra enka yesi kwan no enya do ato hon de osawoko nti na ye ka say 15,000 teachers here omo surplus to lay by e ho be hia say e be reposting ye na say wa do ba koto na company yi we system na de ono wa ready so be try de I don't know to ono ma opportunity na de ono akosha ho na wa try de nti I will say the tendency from that there was say yes and say we have the template, we have the blueprint. Civil society have been recommending the same thing for years. And governments in and governments out have been aware of how to solve the problem. It's just the will to do. But we acknowledge that teacher one of the initiatives are a solve a problem. No, teacher rationalization in deployment. Say you want now what be or surplus to labor. Now activate deprived area incentive. No, so I'm saying at least if we're able to do this, we'll fill the 30,000 classrooms without teachers in no time.
All right. Your time in here, and let me hit you this one before you leave. You talked about the teacher training allowance. Can some can incentive can salary say teacher dabre and some can sika any day. But we share the teacher training allowance here can wasemi. We share the idea and your DPS Sikanwa and today idea no any hobby because just can for top up no today most of the teacher training has been elevated to university status it be quite degree near there eti abano ibe free hono mo anakesi ebesebusika na ye dia five teacher for do they are expanding infrastructure yi dia there and pressure buyer abai sa ko introduce sa teacher training no dear voice biom ye here to tune the minds of the people to understand say this teacher training allowance is not all that important but we can you bet me aboabo say sika no de aboa normal deficit ya ye ka ho asemi dear voice biom ye here
yeah, voice. We need the government to do what the government needs to do because you've hit the nail right on the head. The reason for teacher training allowances, we outlived that relevance more than 5 years ago. The system. yeah, BT that mark over 5 years ago. Then a baby, you teacher training allowance or budget money about over 200 million Ghana cedis annually on teacher training allowances. Nursing training allowance and so on. So on there, if I say, if sir, teacher welfare, you can see any improvement in the rural areas. Nina is kasem. You can see recruiting SHS leaders from within the communities. Now, you more basic pedagogic training. So now, be able to charge our community schools. Now, you upgrade you to become trained teachers through the distance education over the period of 5 years, and the government-sponsored intervention really in the so that we ensure that teachers are where they are needed. Now, say, we have to teach that burden to rural posting or rural urban, rural area incentive to so if these needs are there, now a in every single budget in the longest time since at teacher training allowance by now they be over 270 million Ghana cedis on teacher training allowances. A wasteful expenditure. Edward has held this position for the longest time. A waste. In fact, so be so. Schools and that trees
200 million Ghana cedis.
270 million Ghana cedis, over 270 million Ghana cedis annually.
What?
Government is trying to improve infrastructure across the country. You say, the accommodation account, schools and that trees, we don't need to be accommodating all these wasteful expenditure. Teacher training allowances are outliving irrelevance. Nowadays, the media is also supporting that. It was unfortunate to say, by and by, we'll do something about it. I backtrack. It was unfortunate, but
all right.
We maintain the position that teacher training allowance is a wasteful expenditure because the teachers are trained, they are not even posted properly. They post your mobile reposting the other day. It doesn't solve the problem which was there, for which reason we reactivated or we needed to incentivize teacher training.
All right. Thank you very much, Ese.
Thank you for having me.
All right, sir. Kwesini Mo Junior is a program officer, African Education Watch. He said, thank you very much. Let me go to Dr. Tepe in the next, 10 minutes, near channel 5565, na yemfa into a so doc, the year canina ACKSM 14 months into Obika, but ya posting wa year Juma, Ubi Bashanechi, say, teacher need be so on Kobe because accommodation, teacher Dabreba. President Mahama by SSC acquire accommodation. All these things, I'm even told that they are planning to install DSTV now, or I said a back tractor, but then this teacher training allowance issue. Me obi oni me bia doc maka ho asema from Akufo-Addo time President Akufo-Addo no Akufo-Addo time in here ka ho asema say it's the waste of money, waste of resources. So baby abedi, do you buy that idea that we should scrap the teacher training allowance?
Because of politics, we don't gather the political will to do away with them because of the way I politicize it. Even if the thing is not in the interest of Ghana, you are politicizing it. I say, "Kwan be on me first one more the iron or my." Who share kwan? You fast so they cancel teacher training allowance, and can get the best way. Say, once they've upgraded those institutions to tertiary institutions, they can go for student loan instead of the allowance. Now, the moment it's a nice idea of reducing the burden on the consolidated fund because
yeah,
I can even if you are using that money to improve the infrastructure of these various institutions, because some of them have dilapidated infrastructure, school buildings, other things. Now, to address it here, and now even to use it to address even accommodation problem. You can say, you see, so many infrastructure need is required, just like teacher training and teachers as well. They can about accommodation. Into a better idea, into me. I would say, abandon the political will now on fine trade because it was one of the political, campaign issues that came up during the previous campaign. Said, Aban for Baba Betrim, because Aban, they are not buyer, and NPP buyer, nobody buyer. It is a way Baba Betrim. But if we get the political will, let's say, look, go and take student loan. Who we are, because already the government is spending on you whilst you are in this institution. So you see, the same loan of a bank never did same more interest na no, and they say who could give loan or bank, traditional loan or bank, because whilst you are in school, you have a moratorium. Who we school pay na charge. It's not better. It's a nice way of dealing with the issue. It's immediate. Like I said, you need free home. Now you mau because student need to work so hard. Omuchi omupao. It's yet to make I said, entirely, but you need free on your conscious student loan transfer anymore. Now omu cost school now. Now what could you? Who yes school now? Now which kakra. Dan said, a backward to say free money. Ask the KD ho. I didn't do a better chance on our back. Every bank so every bank is peace. To me, find your trade. So at the end of the day, what are we doing to ourselves?
270 million because of politics. You man cophobia, Brian would do and you quasi tuya. It's a fact. Because when you read the history of the training college, teacher training college allowance, in those days, yes, in any panko training college, so be a person university, and was introduced say, okay. Sanitary the other monko teacher training no move ya mo ambeko University of Cape Coast na mo ye be pese mo na makwa top up and so says it was near the mom say omo boabo no ne fan kwa top up enya that degree now pese o university akwa no today say ade na o pese o kwa that top up no most of the teacher training colleges in now ya elevate to university status ye wo yes degree no dada. There's no need to acquire top up and all this stuff. So what do we have to pay this money? And we can't do this debate because of politics and numbers. There is a President Mahama and we are wasting money today. Somebody have thought for 14 months. And the person teacher Osuka. And so she care kokwa. Doc, can't we take this thing to court?
Well, it is good to always test the law, but I think say abaya kasano onyanka obetrim, but politics inti. I'm telling you say abaya onya because you see abaya hun train was in terms of revenue mobilization. It can be a fast or reducing burden of expenses on the national coffers for Bayer. Intermediate America abaya say onya kukudro. Now, offering flow, no power student loan trust fund, taking as a loan. Because and you be no beji, who the loan now, be no beji, but you see, an allowance also more be.
Yeah,
which we can say we will be free. Mauko yen loan now, near one pen, onji, but because a allowance. But we are the loan, you see numbers, no, so in the
okay. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Peter Takpe is a policy and political analyst. Let me go to now. Now let me give the last 5 minutes and Mame Famau. Na twaso. Say baby a voice baby me here ye blow be 14 months. You pianeka si council kokwa any idea your teacher your friends student ratio your deficit to her because nipa see pure mokoshe yenye sika mfentu omoka say education minister say 40,000 teachers I say ka you employ because if you call retirement be wu but we are just employing just 7,000 basika so kokwa
wait a minute that's a plan say dog any minu akwesi ni mo any one kasa kra no dodo na na de na nka minya ya nka meka no maka mu dodo no a ye on say politics ya ye wa ha populist approach and do so do it requires me am of the view say ke be anka president or by a man 7 years or could be will be sa second term in America for star and no mwy because sa obi ava person maintaining you want what the BBA populist or bit me said the or the benya the majority no and so teachers for in most cases no nam so population e do so ntino we are buying about what they are give bia we feel say or car you be me to abama
yeah
ba abesi a kyerɛ nse bɔ ne kyerɛ we say the dog kai na nka president adi we feel nanso nya ko yi say kime opponent for so benya na yes see e ka kyerɛ mu tie e ka kyerɛ mu na sa na it be me feel say a wasteful expenditure and say we 270 million and you see say we no ko university no sa teacher university a ma ye ya onye wi a aban no ka on popular masa ni pa na obo no ka no the reason what bon ho ka o say o yes na be at least we benya the goodwill in the hands of the teachers for now training on but we no what na fear is o mo we backlog from 2023 o mo da so few and the person now local government na kasa kwa no who say lose popularity in their hands. So what I say, and no come we are at the end of the day, no, you will not be popular because we are no young day, unfan juma. Intimidate if you say no, let's see ye film cry, but once your politics, Okoya, a better affecting in the electoral fortune. In the end of Kahuna, or because the politicians, no, unfortunately, say, leaders probably every next generation, no. Young politicians here in Africa do not every next election. Until I'm and you many people said the politics, we say. Almost all more they friend what ought to be is not what is. Near Kaka and Kassan say, then some politics no near who feels and can say, and yes,
okay.
Be a true. Yeah, can also me will say average of 10,000 teachers. Anna, a free teaching in Germany, be break to point. Be no a pig green up practice. Ye now when on child be Ghana for UK, US and the money man. If you can't China near day, and oh, we move a set your car. Anna, if you more also right areas from person, and no master deficit in then Abba. And maybe I'm a teacher, almost salary no near problem. But other welfare, benefits no any day any moment teacher need because transfer frank your allowance be as a budget. Your other allowance be and care see a genius and so on farmer teachers for no.
Okay.
And no, you Romana or Pebble in Japan.
Let me give you 30 seconds on this. Mr. Kwesini Moa, no Kabibi say rural areas then call for qua or about the different policy ba say the bear it will woo the teachers to go to the rural areas to teach. But we come back to the ABCD. Now President Mahama is introducing teacher Dabre any idea. Do you think that the accommodation is enough? Obi our city when city life any idea wabaso or co cinema or all the glitz and glamour flashy things if you seen it. You tell me that you are giving accommodation or 7 previous or 7 conquest. Is the accommodation enough? Just 30 seconds.
Enough for a question. Can I make also can be a friend professional development say ubia or teacher near or say in the remote area and only access to say or so upgrading on one workshop near there and also can omongo in the accommodation in the Ukraine one of the problems near report but and one what they are not quite a solution because the book money be great as I say okunyin se kwa final mo de ko da bre hono kwa nya papa healthcare enya papa nti o kosi sebi despite and say you are papa na kese mo mansion e kosi sebi da bre na o kira de na enu kwampo enye panacea to the problems na o mo face no nti na yesi ko mo fa ade bi fe no open school ni sa na ma na e betimi o mo nya access to education no na nko e sa so nya dru ho bia ne access to so or to education ni mo no eno so no ya no ye deny na omomo advanced centers nya ahead of them. It is only man so count. It is at 20% of what they ma rural area teachers no and so enough and accommodation last one if you say sa obi wa kra ne atam na koto na say is that time e say nearby regions nearby districts na say bi san kofo no de wa wo no a wa ya climate to the environment no what no pa obe person obe podam obi a say bi o onyam ko sa dabre ho na on any sa region no so ntemu eden geographically.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And Nana Ajima Prep is a founder skills bridge foundation and I'm not saying what we can say is sometimes so now the community raise teachers and our community say be a call Mimi Kromo and almost so I cried a city dada. Uko baby to say be a Samarugu, Uko baby to so Chemberiata. There are some people be a few ho out. Yes, a deliberate policy to raise people from there. Near for a bank sponsor of mom teacher training. A TD panel about teacher training, you are all called Chroma could teach you, say how no free, and how you won't know we are researcher, about 70% of people will have wished to stay where they were born. That is that. And you also bet me abwa